Morgan, you're an entrepreneur as well. How did it start?
I would say I describe myself, so how did it start? Okay, it's to some extent easy to answer it. I never saw myself as an entrepreneur way back. I worked for a company for 10 years, didn't change jobs as such, because after graduating, after my summer jobs, I worked for a company for 10 years. I loved working for this business. But at some point in time, I was feeling constrained on wanting to launch certain new initiatives. And maybe the appetite for those initiatives wasn't there in the business. And at some point, I felt I was coming to a particular period in life. I remember it because it was 10 years ago. That's if something starts happening to the business, I didn't know what would happen to that business. But I said, if something starts failing, it might be associated with me, because I was quite senior in that organization, and the founders were quite successful in their journey. And I wanted to test this new idea. It was related to market research back then. It was, in fact, the topic that eventually used for my dissertation and my MBA program. And I was feeling restricted, maybe is the word. And at some point in time, I took the plunge. And I took the plunge and decided to start what is today Esprimi. It wasn't Esprimi, though, the project in itself. Then I had various options to look at, and one of them was to start off on my own. But there was also another option, which was Business Leaders had existed for 4 years, not as a company, but to run a big business conference once a year.
Mm-hmm.
And my values or my approach was that I would have never taken any client from my previous employer. I respected them too much, and I had learned as well from that business to actually do that. So I decided that the best way of me launching the business and starting with a platform was to kind of pitch my idea of Esprimi to my current partners today about what we could do and how we could build business leaders as a company, besides doing the conference. They liked the idea, and kind of that was the first step. But then what happened as well is that I realized I'm best in creating stuff. So then, after Esprimi, we created CMBS, which back then was called Academy of Business Leaders. Today it employs quite a lot of people, and it's one of our largest businesses. Eventually, I got involved also with a company called Imdina. Today it's rebranded as Imdina Partners. Anyway, and what happened there, these different interactions gave me the opportunity of creating a number of companies. And some of them are led by myself, but in reality, even the ones where I am the CEO, there are some key important people behind these organizations, because any company is led by people. And my role is so the way I see myself as an entrepreneur in the current businesses is to work on the vision, to work on the business.
Yeah.
Because there are people who can do a much better job than I can on a day-to-day basis, as long as they are working to their strengths.
Yeah.
So I think that's what led to become an entrepreneur. There was an opportunity, which in this case was I wanted to do something which was limited, and I had to find a way of doing so. And back then I had no kids. I never lived beyond my means. I had saved some money without the intent of setting up a company. But thank God I had saved some money, because I needed that money at the beginning. Because for those people listening, entrepreneurship very often requires struggles, requires putting money in the business, making many sacrifices, and taking certain gambles. Okay, some of them, very often, they would be calculated risks. But there were times at the beginning where we lost money, not because the company was failing, because we were investing in building stuff. We were employing people, we were building software, and whatever, which requires a capital expenditure before you start reaping the benefits. Today, I feel I'm very happy, because as an entrepreneur, I do every day what I enjoy doing. I can dream, I can test new projects. Some of them are successful, some others maybe less so, and then you can decide as you go along what's best. But also making sure that whoever is leading any project or any company, it's not about you. Also as an entrepreneur, you need, or at least my approach was never to make it about me, but to make it about the company and the brand and the business and the people.
You sort of keep yourself objective.
So for me it wasn't about an ego trip of wanting to become it kind of was a natural progression.
Yeah.
And I don't care that people, in many instances, don't even know that I'm behind the business, or them, if needs to be, I'm the CEO of the business. I mean, but that's how my entrepreneurship journey started. So if you would have asked me when I was still at university whether I would ever own a business, the answer would have been no. I wasn't thinking that I would be a good entrepreneur anyways. But eventually, at least my team thinks that I'm well suited for it.
Okay, that's good. That's a good sign.
Because I think they're the best judge of character and the board.
Yeah.
So that's my journey in entrepreneurship, and I would welcome anyone to try. I mean, it's not easy. I mean, there are many things that when you're an entrepreneur or the CEO as well, you don't need to be the founder, but you also when you are at the reins of an organization and when the buck stops at you, I mean, there's a lot of pressure.
Yeah.
And you need to be able to bounce back even when things do not really work out, and be the person that is always transparent, communicative. Am I always communicative? Sometimes I wish I was more transparent. Always, I would never not be transparent. But it takes a lot of practice as well, and you grow as you go along.
Yeah.
I mean, when I quit my job the first time, I think one of my greatest questions was, but will I be a good CEO? I mean, because I was responsible now.
Yeah.
Now I was in the driving seat, and I was quite concerned or afraid at best whether I would be successful. Because in the middle of all this, I was still in my MBA program.
Okay.
So I started this route when I was in my second year. So I was also in parallel juggling and traveling to do the MBA as well. But I mean, it worked out, or at least it seems like it's working out. But I'm very happy that I took that decision, because I feel I was liberated, and although I respect all that I learned and the people I worked for in the past, because in life everything is a lesson. So even and there are things I learned from my previous jobs, that what I should do and what I shouldn't do. And I'm pretty sure, even if I look back at what things I've done myself as an entrepreneur, I would have done many things differently. In hindsight, everyone
for
is
sure.
an expert.